I suggested they go now while they can. And they left for Europe walking. He left for Europe walking onto the plane, but by the time they came back, he was in a wheelchair.
Hi, this is Kristin with an ALS 411 on giving advice to your former self or what you would tell yourself right after the diagnosis. I asked Todd at breakfast the other day what he would say, and he had a few things that came to mind, and so we thought we'd share those things today. So he first said...
Right, at first, the first thing that I thought is to get all of your affairs in order. And it sounds really cliche, but it is something that will give you peace of mind just to know. And I would say, for me, I mean, speaking as a guy, I just know that I want to protect my family. I want to make sure that they're safe and that everything is going to be okay with them once I'm gone. And I suppose women feel the same way too, and it's important for women to do too, is just to make sure that everything's in order. Have passwords written down, have bank accounts written down. I gave Kristin a list of instructions to, for example, call my company's benefit center and to contact,
Social Security.
Yeah, contact Social Security.
Yeah, he gave me this list, and I don't even remember it all, but I don't have to because I know where it is. And so it is just kind of reassuring to kind of have that map, because then when I'm, grief-stricken, I won't have to think so much and I'll be able to refer to that list. And then also, the other thing that Todd did is he started writing journals right after the diagnosis to each of us, to me and to the kids. Right.
And I had plans to fill up entire journals. And I think a couple things happened. One is that my hands started cramping up because of ALS, and also just because I'm human. And I fell back into my normal self of procrastinating. But it is. I mean, you might only have 6 months. You might have 6 years. You don't know how much time you have, but at least leave something. Take a little bit of time out to leave something to let them know how much you love them. And, I think there's those memories that you can, those words that you can write to them, that legacy that you can leave in your words, but you can also do things like take vacations. I think part of it is how your family will really appreciate that. And I think that varies by family. Some families love to travel. They love spending time together. Kristin loves words, so that was something that was really important to her. But for example, you might want to take a trip. And if you have ALS, the best time to do that is right now. We had neighbors of ours that the husband was diagnosed with ALS, and that was the advice that I gave them. They had dreams of going back to Europe and meeting her family. And when they said that, I suggested they go now while they can. And they left for Europe walking. He left for Europe walking onto the plane, but by the time they came back, he was in a wheelchair. And I mean, it sounds tragic in a way that, he leaves walking, comes back in a wheelchair. But the fact is that he was deteriorating one way or the other, and they had a chance to go. And that would have been their last chance. And that trip was very meaningful to them. So yeah, that's number 2, is to leave something behind, like either the words or the memories for the family.
Mm-hmm. And then you talked about keeping on engaging.
Right.
Engaging with projects and with your family. Like we have family movie nights, and then he watches a show with our son. He used to play Legos with our son, and even though he couldn't move the Legos, he'd still do the voice.
Right.
Mr. Mayor, I think. You were Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, we have that. Where's Mr. Mayor? Do you see him around here?
I think, yeah.
So, yeah, here's Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor.
Isaac would play with Legos, and he would build an airplane and with the ramp on it, and inform me that it was a wheelchair accessible airplane, which is just great. And he made Mr. Mayor here in a little, well, I think he's missing his front wheels here. So
he was a wheelchair, but this was years ago.
was a wheelchair, but I still have that. And that was just time with me engaging with my young son, and who's now 11. So, and I still engage with him in other ways too. You know, he gets to use all my old tools, and I coach him on different projects. I engage with my daughter, and I spend
on music and
right, exactly. Yeah. And I spend time with Kristin. One of my favorite sayings, and I have another video on this about. I think the video is called something like, man with ALS for 9 years has purpose. And I talk about that, about how anything is tolerable with a purpose. And you need to find a way to engage with your family or with the world. Maybe if you can adapt to the technology, there's ways that you can contribute. You can volunteer your time with probably a number of things, with a volunteer organization, with helping with their mailing list or helping with communication. I engage with my church and I volunteer with them on doing some things with some graphics and podcasting, just a little bit that I can do to help out. And I try to fill my calendar with things to do, because as long as I'm busy, as long as I have things to do, then I can tolerate a lot of this.
I don't remember if it was on the list, but accepting help from someone other than your spouse is, I think, the top of my list. Because it took a while before Todd was willing. I ended up cutting my finger on an olive can, and I had to get stitches, and so then I couldn't shower him.
Right.
And so then the shower aids, we started getting the shower aids in, and he found out it wasn't as bad as he thought it would be, because obviously it's an adjustment to get used to strangers washing you. And but it really lightened my load and made things more manageable when we had other people in, and then with nighttime care too. I guess my thing for other moms with young kids is, don't let your kids lose two parents. Because sometimes it happens where it's just like the stress of life is so overwhelming, and the stress of the disease. And then if you aren't sleeping for the time before we had the nighttime caregivers and I wasn't sleeping, I just was not being a good mom. And I got to the point where I'm like, I need to do whatever it takes so my kids don't lose not only their dad to the disease, but me to the disease. And so that's kind of what focuses me, I guess, to take care of myself, is for the sake of the kids and Todd. Because if I go down, then there's nobody to take care of him.
Right.
So that's probably my biggest takeaway, is like, you can't do it alone. So you've got to rally help, or spend all your money if that's what it takes, or fundraise if that's what it takes. I like Jordan Peterson's stuff on suffering. He has a book and he has videos. And like, you can't do a lot sometimes. I mean, this is just an impossible situation. But one thing you can do is you can make it worse by handling it poorly. And so if you can even handle it a little better than you could, having a bad attitude, it'll be better than it could be. And better than it could be has some highlights.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess that's it for this one. You could read more on our blog at nevastory.com. Subscribe to our channel. Yeah, hit like. It helps people find this video. So smash that like button. And we'll see you next time.